Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about Istanbul, the most populous city in Turkey. It became so important throughout history because of its strategic position on the historic Silk Road connecting Europe and the Middle East. It has a long history that spans the rise and fall of the world's most famous empires. Because of its size, Istanbul extends into both Europe and Asia. While Ankara, another large city in Turkey, was chosen as the new Turkish capital after the Turkish War of Independence, Istanbul has maintained its prominence in geopolitical and cultural affairs. Today, the city's economy is responsible for 27% of Turkey's GDP. As expected for a city of such size, Istanbul has a diverse industrial economy producing commodities such as olive oil, tobacco, cars, and electronics. As the only sea route between the oil-rich Black Sea and the Mediterranean, the Bosphorus is one of the busiest waterways in the world, with more than 200 million tons of oil passing through the strait each year. Istanbul was hit hard by the 2018 Turkish currency and debt crisis. As of August 2018, almost one-third of office space in Istanbul was vacant. What's the average salary today? Well, according to Numbeo, it's just $430. Of course, skilled professionals like doctors and engineers can earn as much as $1,600 a month. In 2016, the city had 26 billionaires, down from 36 in 2013. Tourism is a very important part of the economy. Approximately 12.5 million visitors arrived in Istanbul in 2015, making this city the world's fifth most popular tourist destination. But in 2016, the number of tourists went down dramatically after some threats of terrorist attacks and an attempted military coup. In the city, the police are always on the alert. You can see armored vehicles and machine guns, and the police officers are not exactly very friendly. I can't blame them because they're doing their job. The city is huge. You can see endless crowds of people, even on the outskirts of the city. The Bosphorus, which connects the Sea of Marmara to the Black Sea, divides the city into a European side and an Asian side, mostly residential. Today, the city consists of 39 districts. Let's take a look at some of them. Ataşehir. It's a modern suburban district located at the junction of two major motorways in the Asian part of the city, with mostly high-rise apartment blocks and a few skyscrapers. They're now developing 18,000 more skyscraper condominiums for 80,000 people with higher incomes. There are also headquarters and offices of companies here and facilities such as tennis courts, gyms, and movie theaters. For now, choices of public transportation here are very limited, and car is your best choice, though Metro line is already on the way. Bahçelievler. It's a large middle-class residential suburb on the European side with more than 570 residents. There's a busy highway running through the district from the airport all the way to the Asian part, and the Metro line M1. A lot of small parks and big shopping centers. The traffic gets pretty congested though, especially during rush hours. Bakırköy. Nice area, mostly inhabited by upper middle class population in the European part of town, not far from the historic center. The district is on the Marmara coastline. It's an important commercial area with lots of shopping centers, cafes, and restaurants. No wonder Turkish Airlines decided to have their headquarters here. Population is 221,000 people. Beyoğlu. It's a historic center of the city, separated from the old city by the Golden Horn. Beyoğlu has a number of historical sites. The largest square of Istanbul, Taksim Square, Galata Tower, and the main street, Istiklal Avenue. It's a 1.5-kilometer long street full of shops, cafes, cinemas, and art galleries. On the weekends, about 3 million people visit this area. The Fatih district. It corresponds to what, until the Ottoman conquest in 1453, was the whole city of Constantinople. Today, it's a predominantly working-class district, and that's the place where major sites are located. Süleymaniye Mosque, Sultan Ahmed Mosque or the Blue Mosque, Hagia Sophia, and also there is a number of very important architectural structures like the Valens Aqueduct across the Ataturk Boulevard and the new mosque that dominates the waterfront by the Galata Bridge. Istanbul has numerous shopping centers, from the modern to the historic, like the Grand Bazaar, which has been in operation since 1461, one of the world's oldest and largest covered markets. For many tourists, this is the real Istanbul, from the postcard pictures that they had in mind when coming here. Sicily. Located on the European side of the city, it's a very prestigious part of the town. Sicily's central location adds to its desirability. Today, most of the wealthy elite of central Sicily have moved further out of the city, and the large buildings on the grand avenues are occupied by offices, banks, and big shops. Europe's largest and the world's second largest shopping mall, Cevahir Istanbul, is situated here. Climate is hot, and it makes sense that at some point you just want to go swimming. But the beaches within the city are far and few in between, and the sea, unfortunately, in Istanbul is not very clean because there are so many commercial ships sailing in the Bosphorus and the Sea of Marmara. Istanbul residents themselves prefer to take their vacations in the resort city of Antalya, and that says a lot. Winters in Istanbul are not very comfortable. Temperatures range from 3 to 9 Celsius, and sometimes it snows. There are a lot of development projects going on in the city right now, residential blocks of any choice, from ultra-luxury to budget. The skyline of the central part is a combination of low-rise old buildings and new skyscrapers. In October 2018, a brand new airport will be opened. They claim it's going to be one of the biggest in the world, if not the biggest. And it will have a passenger turnover of 150 million passengers a year. Sounds pretty ambitious, right? Despite having good roads and lots of bridges and tunnels, traffic here still gets congested in the evening, and the sounds of horns can be heard frequently. Turkish drivers can be very emotional. Tough situation with parking. Unless you want your car towed away, you better watch where you park. Renting a car in Istanbul is an adventure, and it's not for everybody. Gasoline is pretty expensive and costs about $1 per liter, or 3.5 per gallon. The city is full of hills, and some streets and roads can be unbelievably steep. It takes some guts to live here, let alone drive and park here. Just take a look. More than 90% of populations are Muslim. You will hear azan, or call to prayer, several times a day. It lasts about 3 to 5 minutes, and you'll see some people go off to the mosque, but if you're a non-Muslim tourist, you don't need to do anything differently. Turkey's secular government outlawed the headscarf for civil servants in public universities in 1980, citing the need for the separation of state and religion. But in 2011, Turkey's government lifted the ban, and now you have some liberal neighborhoods and some conservative neighborhoods, where you will see more people walking covered. For the last 20 years, religion has been playing a more and more important role in the society. Turks don't seem to be friendly at first sight, but once you start the conversation, you'll see smiles on their faces, and they'll be more than happy to give you directions, and maybe even offer you a cup of tea. But honestly, not a lot of Turks speak good English, except for the young people. So a lot of times you will hear, "No English." Local public transportation system is a network of trams, cable cars, subway, buses, and ferries. Istanbul subway has 8 lines and 5 more are under construction. The fare is a little less than $1. But the subway lines will not help you all over the city, so you'll have to use buses. There are 500 bus routes that carry 2.2 million people every day. Some are transit buses or metro buses with designated lanes. There are trams as well, modern tram line and nostalgic route, Tunnel Taksim. Istanbul's maritime transport runs through the Bosphorus, the Sea of Marmara, and the Prince Islands. Taxis in the city are hard to miss. They're all yellow. By the way, I've discovered that an Uber ride is always cheaper and more predictable price-wise. Istanbul is a paradise for shopaholics. In addition to large shopping centers, there are markets basically on every street. Istanbul is famous for its sophisticated and elaborately cooked dishes of the Ottoman cuisine. However, following the influx of immigrants from southeastern and eastern Turkey, which began in the 1960s, the foodscape of the city has drastically changed by the end of the century, with influences of Middle Eastern cuisine, such as kebab, taking an important place in the food scene. There are lots of street food stands that offer roasted chestnuts, fresh pomegranate juice, all kinds of kebab, and of course Turkish tea is an important part of Turkish cuisine. Istanbul is a huge modern metropolis balancing between east and west that is definitely worth visiting. And what do you guys think about Istanbul? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.